Hi, I'm Lauren Edwards. I'm the brand manager here at Franklin & Sons, and we are here today with Tom Singleton, the National Field Sales Controller, who is going to give us a brief overview of his time at the brand since it launched in 2015.
So I joined the business from hospitality and operations, so I've been working in bars and nightclubs. So I moved to London for the role to launch Franklin & Sons, and to use some of that experience working in kind of the premium hospitality sector. And then over time built the London sales team. So we originally started with 3, built it up to a team of 10, managed to get a London office because obviously that's where the brand is from. As my kind of career progressed, I moved into a role as brand director, overseeing both sales and marketing globally. And then more recently, over the last 18 months, I've been managing the field sales team here in the UK.
So tell me a bit about how you grew Franklin & Sons and what role did you actually play in that?
So at the start, I was a regional sales manager for West London, but pretty much looked after the whole of London on my own, as we had somebody else that looked after the groups. My role was ultimately to grow the distribution and the brand presence in London. Obviously, with the brand being a London brand and being established back in 1886, it was a key focus for the business. It was a lot of hard work. Ultimately, what we had to do was get the brand out there, and it was liquid on lips. We were very proud of the liquid once we launched it. So the category was opened by the market leader, and we wanted to be the kind of second in market. So my role was ultimately to go and grow that distribution and try and think outside the box. And ultimately, over time, what that led to was the brand had so much opportunity, it was too big for just 3 of us. So we grew the team and put a lot more resource into the brand, and then grew it from there.
I mean, it sounds like a really positive thing that obviously you've grown from 3 all the way up to the 10 of you that actually were working then on the brand, and it just helped your job to sort of grow.
Yeah, we needed the resource. When you've got big competitors out there, with the brand recognition, you have to work hard, and you have to work hard to build trust. Franklin & Sons being owned by global brands was fantastic because we had some relationships from the last 20 odd years that the business had been trading. However, with it being a new brand and a premium brand, something that global brands had not really worked in terms of the category before, we had to build trust in the brand, in the business and in the team. So everything we did, we had to do perfect. We couldn't let anybody down. We couldn't overpromise and under-deliver. As all the small customers that we had at the time were the most important customers that we had. So we had to grow from within, and we had different strategies to try and do that we tweaked over time. But ultimately we grew from 0 distribution and 0 volume to hundreds of thousands of cases worth just in the London unit alone.
That all sounds amazing. So what was the first big win whilst working on the brand?
So the Great Northern Hotel in London at King's Cross, just outside the station. So it's a fabulous hotel with a great bar downstairs. What was really good about this was you had so many people walking past and walking through. The footfall was incredible. But not only that, it was a great bar team, great environment, but they presented the brand in the right way. So all the bottles came chilled, which makes a huge difference for the taste and the carbonation. But also they were known for their gin and tonics, and they had a great gin and tonic offering and menu. So the gin and tonics would come out in a great Copa glass full of ice with garnish, with the gin served in the glass, but also then a bottle of cold Franklin & Sons on the side, which would then allow the customer to ultimately decide how much tonic they want to put in the glass. I think now the expectation from the consumer is that they should be able to pour their own tonic with their gin for their own needs and their tastes.
Yeah, and I think just the opportunity as well with consumers, with such a high footfall area and how it's been served, the consumer awareness piece on that as well, just having that visibility of the brand in hand, you know, on tables, will have really supported that sort of drive as well.
It's all about experience. So of course there'll be a lot of people travelling into the city, into London, from the UK and from abroad as well. St Pancras goes across into Europe, and obviously a lot of people fly into London. There's some big brands out there that we all know and love, but by having the bottle served with the drink, it gives an element of experience. So the bottles are obviously embossed, So the consumer can pick up the bottle, have a look, understand the brand, can see that it's from 1886, it was built in London, and they can see the logo on there. So it just gives another experience for them and another memory about something that they've had different. It gives that point of difference away from something that they may be drinking at home, or in terms of another country, or something that they're drinking in their fridge that they've bought from the supermarket. One of Franklin & Son's big point of difference at the time was we weren't in supermarkets or grocery, so the only time they could experience the brand was in a non-trade environment.
Yeah, giving that sort of really luxury, premium feel. And you mentioned the sort of emboss on the bottles. The bottles are unique to Franklin & Sons as well. So no other sort of brand in the world has these unique bottles that we have, and that there's been a sort of a progression from 1886 and that development of the bottle and what it looks like today and how important it is for Franklin & Sons as a brand.
Absolutely.
So yeah, great. So what sales tools and techniques helped in those early stages?
I mean, first and foremost, it was the dedication of the sales team. We all loved hospitality and we loved drinks, cocktails, etc. So that passion for the brand came through. So for us, training at the initial stage about the brand, about its history, its true history, its heritage, the liquids, everything else was important for us to kind of set the foundations of the brand in trade when the team were talking about it. And then also we can pass that knowledge on and training other bartenders that may be coming up and through. But in terms of sales tools, the business created an illustrated menu system, and that allowed us to pair all of our mixers with not just gins, but other spirits as well, for the kind of ginger ales, ginger beers, colas, etc. And that gives us a real point of difference, because the illustrations were done by one of our team here in the head office, and it was something that nobody had ever done before. So that was an online system where our customers could go online, they could use the gins or pair the spirits that they had in their back bar, and it would recommend a perfect serve along with a garnish, and that didn't come at any cost to them. That was all provided as a support through the business, provided that they stocked Franklin & Sons exclusively. That was one key part of all of the agreements that we would do, is we always wanted exclusivity to make sure that the full range was being provided. The additional benefit of the menu system was that all of our brand partners wanted to be on that menu as well, because it helped them grow their brand and drove distribution and volume for them. What was happening over time was a lot more of the regional gins wanted to be part of the journey with us, and that created better relationships in trade, better support in trade, but ultimately led for better support for our customers, which reflected really well on us as a team, because we wasn't only just supporting from a Franklin & Sons point of view, but they would get support from the gin brands in terms of maybe glassware or free stock or support for events, training, etc. So it was more of a collaboration.
Nice. So what you're saying is it's not just supporting sort of our customers, but also supporting brands that we're working with as well, and having that additional collaborative piece. So actually it's, you know, working with our customers, but also working with brands to help drive Franklin & Sons, but also our partners' brands and customers' brands.
100%. The key word there is collaboration. If you want to win, then you can't do it all on your own, and hospitality is built on togetherness ultimately. So we were working with people that wanted to work with us, and it made our lives much easier and much more fun, and everybody benefited from those kind of relationships ultimately, which helped us to win. And
just sort of going back to that menu system that you were talking about, obviously that's created with the team in mind. So that's done through our brand ambassadors, through the sales team, through working with bartenders who understand our products, who understand, you know, Spirit Brands products, to make sure that actually those pairing suggestions are a perfect serve and do work. So yeah, super important as well to make sure that we were using that menu system.
Yeah, I mean, initially when we launched the brand, it was part of the gin boom in the UK. So everything was about gin. But then over time, it progressed into more of a spirit and mixer menu, as more of the kind of dark spirits came through, tequilas came through, etc., which benefited our range and the brand, because then we could introduce a lot more of the ginger beers, the colas, etc., but then allowed us to drive the NPD through our flavoured tonics and flavoured soda range.
Yeah, And we've seen a lot of that as well, obviously starting off as primarily sort of a tonic soda brand, and actually now the amount of products in the portfolio that serve well with the likes of tequilas, with rums, it's vast, isn't it? It's a really versatile sort of portfolio of products. So it just shows how much the brand has grown and, you know, what we have to offer.
Absolutely, and we've talked about our tonics and mixes, but actually the soft drinks range is key as well. The soft drinks range is, or was initially made as a standalone adult soft drink. However, what we found is through the liquids being developed, they're actually a great mixer too. And as time's gone on, bartenders have really got excited about some of the cool liquids and flavours that we have, and have started to utilise those in cocktails too, which added to the growth of the brand.
So what was the strategy, and what venues, groups and accounts did you decide to target?
So the strategy had to be fluid and change, but at the start we were an aspirational brand, so we wanted to work with aspirational venues. We needed to make an impact as quickly as we could, so we drew up a list of accounts that people would come into London and visit, and would probably get on Google or TripAdvisor and would probably look to attend. So that was a mix of kind of tourist spots, but also kind of the Instagrammable spots as well. So you're probably thinking about rooftop bars, whether it be rooftop parties or great venues that would have Instagrammable moments, etc. 5-star hotels, premium cocktail bars. So we had a real focus around those for different reasons. So rooftop cocktail bars would probably drive a lot more volume because there was a party environment to it, although we would get the Instagrammable moments and the social media presence. In the 5-star hotels, that was where the consumers were there to enjoy their drink and would take time to enjoy it and wouldn't have many distractions, so that if the drink was poured and served in the right way, they would have time to pick up the bottle, have a look, understand the brand, see the brand, and really kind of take that moment in. We had a growing team as well, so as we got more feet on the ground, that helped us to do that, but we couldn't do that alone. So a lot of it was done through relationship as well, and that was through working with our kind of route to market partners, our distributors, wholesalers, etc., to get some ins. But we also had to think outside the box. Being a challenger brand, you have to do things a little bit differently. So one example of something that we did was we sponsored the FBMA, which was the Food and Beverage Managers Association. That gave us access to hundreds of food and beverage managers and experts in the kind of 5-star hotel, premium hotel sector. And we got to go in there and ultimately to talk about the brand, showcase the brand, do a tasting, etc., and just put us on the radar, because those venues do need that point of difference. They would never stock a wine that would be sold in a supermarket. So we had to educate them around premium tonics, mixers and soft drinks to have an offering that wasn't available at home, which is where all of our major competitors sat. Once it got to that point, the liquid and the brand would never let us down. We were always confident in that. And then it was about those additional support pieces that we've already spoken about, which was about the passion for the brand. It was about the kind of history and heritage. It was all about giving the staff who were serving it the confidence to talk about the brand. If a consumer or customer came up to them and said, "Can I have a gin with X brand?" if they had 2 or 3 nuggets of information to be able to go, I'm afraid we don't have those brands, but what we do have is Franklin & Sons, which is a premium tonic brand from London, which initiated back in 1886. It just gives them something to talk about, which is different to the consumers.
Nice.
Another part of the strategy was within London, everybody knows Mayfair, and with us being a premium brand, we wanted to be in the most premium places, and Mayfair is expensive, but it has some great hospitality venues. So we had a real focus around there. There you have to get noticed, you have to do something differently. So it was about spending time in those venues, understanding their business, understanding their operation, and why a brand like Franklin & Sons would improve their offering and their service. That takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, so it takes persistence. But ultimately, when you believe in the brand, it helped us to win ultimately and get that success. One of the biggest players in the kind of UK cocktail scene in London was the Inception Group and Mr. Fogg's. They were kind of the holy grail ultimately for the brand. They had a gin and tonic bar, the gin parlour, Mr. Fogg's gin parlour, and we knew they did a lot of volume across the group, but it wasn't just about that, it was about the brand exposure. We wanted to get into their business ultimately because of their international presence as well. So with them being a London Victorian brand as well, it was the perfect fit. So we spent a lot of time, dedicated hours, to venues in and around Mayfair and with that group specifically. And once we actually won Mr. Fogg's and the likes of Novikov restaurant, etc., it gave us talking points and reference points to be able to go into other prospective customers and say, by the way, we now work with Mr. Fogg's, we work with Inception Group, we work with Novikov, and that just builds confidence in the brand over time.
So how did you overcome any rejections or setbacks?
There were a lot of setbacks at the start, being a challenger brand, being an unknown brand in the market, but it was about persistence. Myself and the team, we believed in the brand, we believed in the liquids, but it was just going to take a little bit of time. I've already mentioned it was about liquid on lips and us thinking outside of the box, so we did a lot of kind of sponsorship, did a lot of event sponsoring so that we could get consumers to try the brand, but also trade. We were focused heavily on the on-trade, so there was naturally a lot of focus on bartenders and hospitality experts, and we wanted them to get behind the brand, so we tried to put on cool events that they would want to come and attend and ultimately come and see what was happening. And that took a little bit of time to figure out, but we did all sorts. We would sponsor music events, we would sponsor bartender events, bartender brunches, and that helped us to ultimately get the brand in hand and liquid on lips and build the confidence in the brand ultimately over time. And as I've said, once we started to get some of the bigger customers on board, that trust started to build, which allowed us to then grow the brand naturally, and it wasn't everything that we just kind of had to touch. At the same time, the brand team were putting on great brand plans and activations which helped the brand grow. One of the biggest things that we did, and was probably a bit of a catalyst, was we sponsored London Tubes. So we put some posters and activations around the platforms of the London Underground, which got us a lot of presence and actually made us punch above our weight. It made us look like a brand that we were bigger than what we were. And that's when we started to get noticed a lot more, and prospects and customers would message us and ring us and say, oh my gosh, I've just seen you on the tube, or I've just seen you on this billboard, etc. Which wasn't a significant cost actually, but again, built the perception that we were a much bigger brand than what we were.
The sort of campaign that you're referencing there, I guess that's just a show of how above the line marketing actually does have a positive effect on brand development and brand building. So which is great, obviously. And you also referenced, events that you've done with bartenders, and you sponsored the awards. Does the brand still continue to sort of sponsor awards to this day, and does it work?
Yeah, it's a good point actually. So in the early stages, as a team, we wanted to get the awards for the liquids and for the brand, so we would enter a lot of competitions. So that really helped build the trust in the brand from a consumer point of view, and from an industry point of view as well. So the Great Taste Awards were one of the ones that we initially won, and I think we were the first premium Indian tonic to win 2 stars, which not many brands get at the time. So again, just building that confidence, and since that point we've entered many more, including the IWSC, which we were a sponsor of, which is more internationally recognised, and has helped us to build the brand globally. One other key point, going back to your original question, was how did we overcome objections? There was constant communication back to the brand team and back to head office about what we were seeing in trade and what was happening, and recommendations in terms of flavours or trends, etc. And us being an independent business, we could move quickly, and over time we've developed a huge range of different flavours now. But at the start, during the gin boom, we launched some flavoured tonics, dual flavoured tonics, which is something that nobody had ever done before. So we wanted to be kind of first to market and be trendsetters as well. And I think having that constant communication back to the team and back to head office and ultimately being listened to and being able to make a change helped the brand to grow. And we still continue to do that now. We have a long list of NPD, as you will know.
Yep.
And new flavours coming through, and we always want to be at the forefront of that and kind of ahead of the curve where we can be.
Yeah. And I guess just sort of, we've discussed this before, collaboration, so important. You mentioned the brand team and how we react to the sort of feedback that you give us. I mean, you guys, the sales teams, have always been the eyes, the people on the ground that have that first-hand feedback, specifically with the trade. So it's just, again, a bit of a showcase of how well sales teams, brand, the NPD teams, how we all work together and how it makes the brand what it is and how it helps to drive that brand.
Absolutely.
So it's important.
100%.
What gave us the edge over the competition?
Having a solid foundation of true history and heritage of a family brand with great liquids. We kept to the ethos of the brand. It linked in very well with Global Brands, which is an independent business. So having a good, solid brand from the start that everybody believed in, with no fabrication and that kind of truth and history and heritage, was brilliant. We didn't just create it from scratch. We had the original ginger beer urns that were in the factories. We had the original steel plaques that were on the walls, all the newspaper cuttings that we could find online. I mean, that's just invaluable, and priceless. So that's what initially gave us kind of a bit of an edge. And then it was all the things that we have mentioned about. It was about not over-promising and under-delivering. It was having that passion about the brand to be able to go and invest in hospitality, into people, into their businesses, and creating bespoke solutions to help drive sales, to drive rate of sale. And then also the flavour combinations. We continue to develop the liquids and we don't stand still. I think all of that combined is why in the UK, from a tonic and mixer point of view, we've got the brand to number 2, which is no mean feat at all when you think about some of the other brands that are out there. To be a clear number 2 is fantastic, and that's credit to the brand ultimately, and to everybody that was involved in it from the start.
I mean, it's amazing to show that we are now number 2 in the UK, to say we only launched in 2015. That's 10 years of hard work and developing that brand, so it's amazing. So, taking an alternative view, what was the first big loss and what did you learn from it?
Obviously everything is never plain sailing, so you can't win them all. The premium tonic and mix category is extremely competitive, and there's a lot of different brands in the arena, so it's difficult to kind of keep everybody happy. What I will say is 99% of the time, if we would have a customer or more a partner, we would like to say, we would never let them down, the brand would never let them down, so there's no real reason for them to change. That said, some of our competitors also get extremely commercially competitive, which was really the only reason why we would ever lose out. But ultimately it was just time. We would have to give it time. We would continue to work on those relationships just because we'd kind of lost the account itself. It's just about building back up that trust and understanding the real reasons why we did lose, which was, again, often commercial. And then a lot of the time our competitors may not deliver on their promises, and we still believe in the brand. We always will believe in the brand, and the brand delivers. So as we continue to grow, we have that belief that those that want to work with one of the best tonic and mix and soft drinks in the category will kind of always come back to be able to ask us for our advice and our support, and to have that point of difference. It still stands today here in the UK that we are not in the grocery channel, and we are predominantly focused on the on-trade, so there is that experience outside of home that people can't get
So, as a leader within your field, how would you inspire the next round of sales representatives?
I mean, for me, it's all about having passion for what you do. I think everyone that works in hospitality or comes from hospitality, it never lets you go. It's all about doing everything with a smile, ultimately, and enjoying what you do. I love drinks. I love kind of giving people the experience and the entertainment, etc. So it was never really a day's work. But then ultimately it's about just delivering on your promises and continually developing yourselves. Although I came from an operational background, it's fair to say I didn't come from a cocktail background. So moving into the arena of spirit mixers, cocktails, I had to learn very quickly. And I built a team of experts around me that were very good at that to kind of bridge that gap for me, which I wasn't probably so good at. So I would say just be open, honest, transparent, and do your best every day and just continually learn, because every day is a school day in my eyes, and you can learn from peers, from people above you, more senior, but you can also learn from your customers as well, and just always have an open mind.
Very inspiring. Talk to me about your time as brand director for Franklin & Sons and how it differed internationally from the UK.
So that was an interesting time for sure, and opened up my eyes to the international markets. Obviously we all know the UK market inside and out, but for me it was interesting to see the different trends. So the US is completely different to Europe, for example, and then even more so over in the UAE. So there was a lot more of a soft drinks focus over in the UAE to start with. And obviously in the US, it's a very small category, the gin and tonic. So it's a lot more focused on sodas and ginger beers and those kind of darker flavours or darker spirits. And in Europe too, if you take Italy for an example, gin and tonic is very much like an emerging category. So it was about utilising the right flavours and the right SKUs and then supporting in the right way. And that collaborative approach with our importers and distributors, linking in with our customer marketing team to make sure that the tools that we've discussed here were all applicable to the markets in the right way. It goes to things like glassware, for example. Originally we only had Copa glasses, but then we moved into taller highballs. As highballs came through in the UK, we recognised that that was a feature across Europe and over in the US too. So it was just about kind of adopting as we went and understanding the different markets, utilising our distributors and importers.
And I think it's clear that we've also done that with specific products as well, and like you were saying about the darker spirits as well, but understanding the differences between spirit and mixer options and cocktail options in different sort of, you know, international markets. So for example, the guava and lime soda that we currently sell here in the UK, we have it as a vodka sort of pairing, whereas in the US it's served more predominantly with the sort of tequila for a ranch water serve. So making sure that we across seas understand what each market wants.
Absolutely.
So this might be an easy question, but it might be a difficult question. What is your favourite product in the range?
It's changed over time. As we've developed more flavours and more SKUs, it's definitely changed. Right now, I would probably say pink grapefruit soda. Reason being is I'm a huge tequila fan. I will drink tequila cocktails and drink tequila when I'm at home and out. And the pink grapefruit is just really well balanced. It's not overly sweet. You can drink it on its own, but also paired with tequila, it just makes a very simple Paloma. And sometimes simplicity is key. You can dress it up a little bit more with agave, sugar, etc. But I think as a standalone and as a cocktail mixer, the pink grapefruit is excellent. Nice. What about yourself? What's your favourite in the range?
This is a tough one, but I'm going to go for guava and lime soda, mainly because I think there's a few different ways that you can serve that. It can be drank on its own, which I tend to do. You know, if I'm wanting a nice, delightful cold pick-me-up, I would tend to go for sort of on its own. But I also love it with vodka, and it goes really nicely with rums as well. So I'm a vodka and a rum fan, and it pairs so nicely with those. And it's a really light, summery drink. that I would probably tend to lean towards.
So you spoke about innovation. In terms of flavours and trends, etc., where is the brand heading from a soft drinks point of view? What flavours are coming out? What has recently come out? Where is the focus for the brand?
We're looking at sort of trends and what consumer preferences are, and that's so integral for how we continue to drive and develop the brand. We say that we are the pioneers of flavour, and I absolutely believe in that. Like you were saying, we believe in the brand. So the sort of most recent piece of NPD that's actually come through is our apple and pear product. This sort of came through as a trend-led flavour that we knew consumers were looking for. It's more to sort of sit in line with that whole summer, spring flavour, and it is a delicious product. It's going to work so well for that at-home occasion. It's going to work so well for that sort of on-trade occasion, and it pairs perfectly with so many sort of lightweight foods. Previously, the sort of last piece of NPD before that was the peach and mango, and we sort of found the data and the insights that actually tropical flavours were on the increase and they were growing in popularity. So we, ahead of the curve, we got straight into it. The NPD team, we were working together quite closely on that to develop this really great tasting liquid that delivers on taste, that delivers on flavour, that delivers on that drinking occasion. And so we launched that actually in last year in 2024. And it's been a real success since. And just recently last month, we found out that actually that tropical flavour and peach specifically is on the increase, and we can now see a lot of other brands jumping in on that trend. So actually it's great to see that we were ahead of the curve on that we were there before other brands, and it just shows that sort of NPD is so essential for a brand, and to make sure that we are constantly driving that NPD and innovation and showing that we are constantly developing. Pioneers of flavour, I think, Tom, yeah.
So I'm assuming they'll be great for at-home consumption as well from more of a retail environment.
Absolutely. I think the way we're going to be talking to consumers about these soft drinks is so important, and it's important to again grow that at-home occasion. We've seen that people are tending to actually stay at home and have drinking occasions with loved ones, or having gatherings and having that premium drinking experience at home. We've done a lot of work recently with flavour pairings and how our products actually work well with foods or in foods as part of a recipe, and we've done a lot of work on that sort of you can find on our website, definitely. But it shows that the products themselves are so versatile, and they can be used in such different occasions.
Well, Lauren, it's been great talking about the brand today, reminiscing, looking back where the brand has come from and seeing its journey up to today. The brand will continue to grow, I'm sure of that, and I'm excited to see kind of where it'll go in the future.
Cheers to that. Let's go get a drink.